Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest podcast, Blood, Sweat, and Beers, presented by SportsKhabri. This is going to be my happiest episode till now, and I think people who have been following our podcast, they don't even have to guess why this is my happiest podcast. I mean, I can't stop smiling, I can't stop laughing, and Pranav Khandela has joined us today. He's here for the first time. He's a football enthusiast and a big Arsenal fan. He's been associated with Fantasy Premier League for quite some years now. Maybe Pranav doesn't know the reason behind my happiness, or maybe he does because he's been following our podcast. So Rahul Saha, Rahul Naresh, today I'll be very happy. I can take your barbs. I can give your barbs. My brother Ali hasn't joined us yet. He'll be joining us very soon. I think he's still celebrating the victory since Monday, and just a great weekend, guys. Even though I didn't score that well in the FPL this week, I really don't care. How has the week been for you guys, Rahul Naresh? How was the week for you?
Pretty good. I mean, for Arsenal again, another win. So I was pretty happy about that. Clinical performance, more of the same from Arsenal. But from an FPL point of view, it was a good week for me there too. A lot of my midfield that I was looking for finally fired, and yeah, happy about that.
So Pranav, officially welcome to our show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
How just briefly for our listeners, just tell us how your involvement with FPL has been over the years, and how this week was for you.
Thanks a lot, Shwetaabh, for such a warm welcome. I've been writing about fantasy football, the Dream 11 thing for quite some time now. I've been covering all the European leagues that happen. And like you mentioned, that I'm a huge Arsenal fan right from the Invincible days. And really happy to be a part of this podcast with other three fellow Arsenal gunners.
So Saha, how was this week for you? Of course, Arsenal had another victory, but how was it for you in terms of FPL?
It started off with a bang. Like Saturday was great for me. I was inside the top 50,000 players for the game week.
Oh wow.
Sunday it all went downhill. Like my backline looks more like binary numbers than a fantasy Premier League team. Like defenders scoring 1-0, 1-0. But still, at the end of the day, my team recovered to 62 points, which I think is a reasonable score for this game week. So all in all, a tad bit disappointed, but still happy. Arsenal are top of the league. Like I have
Yeah.
scored substantially more than the average score. So yeah, overall it's good.
Well, then let's not waste any more time and quickly let's go to our FPL respective FPL scores of our experts of blood, sweat, and beers. And let's start with Naresh. Let's see how, because he said he's done well this week. Let's see how much he scored. So Rahul, Naresh has your team did quite well, Rahul.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty happy with my team this week.
so just quickly, if you can just for our listeners mention your points and the performance of your respective players.
Yeah, so I've scored 73 this week. Jose Sa got me 3 points. They didn't get the clean sheet. Should have got a clean sheet, but like you know what, it's okay. Um, Trent with no points, which is obviously because they conceded to a couple against United. James got one, conceded three against Leeds. Gabriel with a clean sheet, so 7 points. Maddis scored a goal. Rodrigo got a couple. No, I think he got one goal and one assist, if I'm not
One
wrong. Yeah,
assist, yeah.
yeah. So 13 there. Odegaard scored a brace. That was my differential. I think Odegaard was my differential. Not a lot of people
That's
had
true.
him.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's where I think um, I really took my team above the rest this week. Salah did. I was again. It was a toss up between Jesus and Salah for captain, but I went with Jesus simply because he's an Arsenal player. Should have had a couple of goals in the game. Um, was one goal got ruled out, and he should have scored one, which he had stayed at the keeper. But it's okay. I'm going to stick with him. I'm going to continue, and yeah, hopefully, same trend continues.
Yeah, all in all, it was quite a good week for you, and I'll come back to your overall points very soon. But let's have a look at our new experts team and how he did, Pranav's team, and how much Pranav scored this week. Pranav, in the meanwhile, if you
Yep.
can just tell us how your team did, what were your final
All right.
points, the
Yeah,
performance of
sure.
your players.
Was a pretty average week for me. Like you can see, the average scores were 48, and I managed only 49. Let's talk about the players that I have. I
Absolutely.
feel that Pope really did well. Job. 3 points actually do not reflect the actual performance over here, but nevertheless, I would continue with him also again in the future. I was really disappointed with the way Alexander Arnold has been performing this season. He had set really high standards last year. Not only last year, but the last couple of seasons, he was really out of the park. Was really doing everything for Liverpool at the back there. But unfortunately, it hasn't been the same case for him. I
Yeah.
made a blunder. I thought that Trippier is going to be playing against Man City, and I was expecting Newcastle to score, concede one or two more goals, and that is the reason why I did not pick him, and he scored. So that was one of the biggest blunders that I made. Walker, I felt had a decent game, but again, because they conceded 3 goals, there were not many points coming from him, and also with Anderson was the same case. I was again unhappy with the way Rice has been performing. He was again excellent for the last couple of seasons, but hasn't been that great so far. I hope him to bounce back. Uh, Apart from that, Ward-Prowse has been excellent. Salah, as he's always on the move, always getting you points. De Bruyne, I felt he was excellent. A couple of another moves did not work out. Otherwise, that would have been great for my FPL team as well. But I was pretty happy with the Arsenal boys, the way they performed. Again, like Rahul Naresh mentioned that one of Jesus' goal was ruled out. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mitrovic scoring that penalty helped me out. Actually, Salah, De Bruyne, and Mitrovic actually saved me. Otherwise it would have been really, really shatters for me last week. Uh, yeah, that's about it. About last week, I just scored 49 points. Not pretty happy with that performance, but yes, you will get one of these weeks where you can't get as per
Absolutely.
expectations. So yeah, just moving on from
Absolutely.
here.
You're absolutely right with that, because I can see that happening with myself, because this happened with me last week. Last week I scored somewhere around 79 points, and this week I have had a bad
All right.
performance as well. But let's first we have Ali back with us, so I'll just have Ali join us for now.
Hi
Hi Ali.
everyone, good evening.
Hi
Hi.
Ali, good evening.
I think this is I think I just mentioned it before you came that this is going to be my happiest week, but I think I have my brother Ali here who's also going to have a very happy week this time. This
I'm
is going to be a
having
very happy
already.
podcast. So before we go on further, I'm sorry, I just have to do this. Ali, express your happiness. दिल खोल के दिल खोल के एक बार अपना हैप्पीनेस एक्सप्रेस करो और उसके बाद हम आगे बढ़ते हैं.
The happiness cannot be expressed in words because this is the first time I've experienced my team winning against Liverpool in the Premier League. So
Yeah,
for me, I couldn't sleep because of happiness. Previously, it used to be because of the sorrow. And again, I'm even though I hoped we I hope that we win, but I didn't expect us to put in that kind of performance coming from that game
absolutely.
against Brentford when those very players just ran 13 kilometers lesser than the whole
Yeah.
Brentford team. That's
Absolutely,
the lowest.
absolutely,
That is the lowest
absolutely.
recorded in the Premier League. So it was terrifying experience.
No, no,
I
absolutely. I
cannot
think
put those expression in words.
I know, but you were using some very strong words over our group, which I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
obviously not
I think
mention, which I can
yeah,
obviously not
we can't
mention
use those
here,
here.
but we can't use those here. But we all know how excited this man was at 2:30 in the morning. I don't even want to imagine what he was doing on the roads of Bombay. Screaming, shouting.
You
But
know actually
but but
actually the thing was I was in Bombay and I was in the car. I was driving back home and I stopped to watch few minutes of the matches and Sancho scored the goal and I screamed like hell. That is
Nice.
just a ridiculous experience. I never experienced something like
No,
that.
absolutely, absolutely. These are the moments for which we are all football
Yeah,
fans.
that is why
This
we
is
are a
this is what
fan.
football does to all of us. And uh, I'm also very glad, Ali, just not for the fact that United won, but that you got to experience this, because obviously, as you've spoken in the podcast, you've just very, like, 4 or 5 years back, you've started following United. We, the old fans, have seen these victories before, but it's been a long time coming, and I'm so glad that you experienced it. But let's talk about Ali's performance in the FPL this week. So if we can have Ali's team up next. Ali, quickly tell us how much were your total points? How was the performance of
68.
your players overall?
I scored 68, and my bench had Andreas Pereira who scored 8, and
Oh, wow.
Cancelo and Alexander Arnold both disappointed.
Yeah,
Although even Reece James, I didn't expect him actually Chelsea putting that kind of performance. And I had
yeah.
Reece James for him being a right wing back, and he played as the right centre back. So that was a big disappointment for me. And again, Zaha, I in the first podcast, I think I mentioned Zaha is gonna be something. Is gonna do something amazing. So I'm backing him again for the next week too. So he scored the goal. Gave the most points. Again, Kane. I expected more from Kane as well as from Jesus. I think he should have had goals against Bournemouth, and I was absolutely disappointed. I expected him to score.
But I think overall the performance was quite good, and especially I would want to remind our listeners that Ali played his wild card last week.
Yeah.
So in the next section, we would like to know about the when we talk about the trends and the changes that we're going to make, because this is the thing. These are our experts, and all the moves that they've made are very well thought out of. And I think Ali's performance this week just shows it. And I would in the next section, I would love to know how your wild card worked out. But before that, let's have a look at King Saha's team, how he performed this week overall. And let's have his creative up next. So, Saha, please quickly points, performance. What was your take from this week?
Yeah, yeah, as I told you guys earlier, so my team scored 62 points, and as you guys can see, apart from my premium defenders, everyone scored, which is the frustrating part for me. Like, just
Yeah,
look at it, 1-1-0-0.
yeah,
That's a great set of numbers.
wow,
So yeah, Perisic was a bold call. Like I made that call at the last minute and got rewarded for it. So I'm very happy with that. I was also taught between Jesus and Salah, but you never go against King Sasuke like Mohamed Salah,
yeah,
even if where Liverpool are at this stage of the season, and he duly returned. And yeah, and in regards to my in regards to switching from Haaland to Harry Kane, I'll again hold my hands up. Like Haaland could have easily scored a hat trick, and I could have had a pie in my face, but at the end of the day he ended up with a single goal, and so did Harry Kane. So
yeah.
I at least I didn't fall behind the pack in this regard. And this coming week, Spurs face Nottingham Forest, whereas Haaland faces Palace. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, actually, I think you were actually saved by Perisic, and that was a very good call. And again, in the next section, we would like to know the reasons and the thoughts behind, like the trends and what our experts feel is going to happen in the next from the next week. Because now, obviously, we are into the fourth game week now. Things are heating up. Trends are emerging. But before we go into the next section, let's just have a look at my performance. And it wasn't the best of the performances, but I don't know. I have no reason to complain this week. So yeah, I think I've scored 49 points, and as you can see, like I also had Alexander Arnold, and he didn't give me anything. Janssen, who gave me last 6 points last week, was did not perform, and I actually for me my biggest disappointment was Kevin De Bruyne, because that is one change which I had made and got him into my team, but he did not give me as much as I was expecting, and he had a low game. But besides that,
But
Ward Prowse was
Shweta,
yeah,
how sick was that assist?
No, actually, that
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
bro.
yeah,
That was a
that can be
killer.
the assist of the
absolutely,
season. That wasn't
Yeah.
logo.
absolutely.
My
No,
oh
no, no,
Has
no.
to
my!
be, has to
It
be.
still gives me goosebumps when I discuss about that assist.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
absolutely, absolutely. That was it was an amazing, and I wish there was something extra for these kind of assists, but obviously in the numerical world of fantasy Premier Leagues, these things don't matter. But I'm obviously
Uh,
hoping for more from Kevin De Bruyne. But yeah, overall not that good a week. Even though my forward line performed decently well, they could have done better. But I'm very happy with my choice of Oli Watkins. I'm the only person who backed him since the first week, and he's been delivering for me. So I'm quite happy with that. But guys, I'm sorry. Now I just want to move on to what are the trends that you guys see emerging, and from that only I would like to know what are the changes you're making for the next week, and what is your reasoning behind that. Even I have made my changes, but let's just start with Pranav. Pranav, any changes for this week, and what reasons are behind that? Do you see certain trends emerging?
so I would like to, point out one thing over here before I, jump onto my changes. Jadon Sancho, I feel, is gonna strike some form. He scored in
Hmm.
the last game, and he's
Hmm.
also scored in the previous fixture against Southampton, which was played
Hmm.
the last season, which was on the
Hmm.
12th
Hmm.
of February 2022. He was the one who scored. So I feel, his stakes are going to be really high because even though United are playing an away game, I still rank them favorites, getting into this fixture with the kind of momentum they have.
Yeah.
So still United, of course, start favorites. I'm not sure whether Casemiro is going to start, but I wouldn't risk getting Casemiro straight away in. But I feel this week Jadon Sancho is going to be a man to watch out for, especially with the confidence that he's gotten, and
Yeah.
scoring in the previous fixture as well. Uh, yeah, so that's one player that I'm going to be watching out for. I felt I'm particularly talking about the first fixture here. I also feel that Ward-Prowse is going to be a key man, and thankfully I already have in my team. The other man to watch out for is going to be Kyle Walker-Peters. I felt he's a decent enough player, and he's gonna have a good game, especially with the kind of stats that he's been around with. He's got some ridiculous 154 successful passes already in the Premier League, which is again at the top of the league again, in as compared to the other players as well. So he's done really well. To begin with, that's what I would like to say. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to make any transfers because I'm holding it up for the next week, whether when I get two free transfers, which allows me to add it up and buy a stronger player. And I feel I'm gonna get rid of Alexander Arnold this time, and get in one. The next week rather, get in one normal average defender who's being, I need to look at the stats, who's been performing on an okayish, but I would go for a good midfielder or a striker, because at the moment I have Mitrovic, but I don't feel Mitrovic is going to be consistent. So I would like to utilize my budget and have that kind of an adjustment.
Okay. So there we go. So Pranav is not making any changes for this week, but he has given his observations about what he feels is going to be a major change, and of course, he's talked about how Sancho could be a emerging player, a player who could be giving a lot of points for the coming weeks, and that is something for everyone to keep in mind of, and it just shows how much change a week or a good game can do for players or for teams, and the way we are talking about how United is going favorite is a favorite going into the Southampton game. Saha, well, your observations. What do you think are the changes that you are making, and why? Are you seeing any trends emerging?
Yeah, so I have, observed a trend that I think has not become a trend as of now, but it has a potential to, becoming a real, meta breaking trend in the future game weeks. You see, like, since the start of the, Premier League season, I have watched every single game and analyzed each game in detail. So what I've realized is that, like, as Pranav was alluding to, that he is going to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold, and more people are, and there are other FPL owners who are, going, going off the bandwagon of premium defenders, and make going with a makeshift defense of 4.5 or 5 million defenders, and boosting that or amount of money in their
Forward, yeah,
midfield or in their
yeah,
forward
forward
line.
lines. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the thing is here is that uh, let's say you are trying to replace a Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now he is priced at 7.5 millions. Now a Trent Alexander-Arnold in the past 4 to 5 seasons has on average delivered 14 to 18 goal contributions. In addition to his, let's say on average 17 or 18 clean sheets. Now, what I've observed this season in particular is that in comparison to the previous season, this season we have at least 11 to 12 front-footed teams in the Premier League. So what this has done is that this has offset the clean sheet scoring potential of these so-called big teams, the Man
Mm,
Cities, the Liverpools, as you
mm,
can see
mm.
in the first 2 or 3 game
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
and I expect this to carry on for the rest of the season. Like this is not an anomaly. I expect this to go on. You see, like the likes of Brighton, Brentford, Newcastle United, Leicester, they may go down against the Man Cities, against the Liverpools, against the Arsenal, but they will go toe to toe against these teams. And just because of that, although these bigger teams may score 3 or 4 goals, these lesser teams, the
Will
Brightons or the
also score
Newcastle,
goals.
they in return will
Yeah,
score a goal or two.
yeah,
So
yeah,
now,
yeah.
so since this goals clean sheet scoring potential has been reduced of these premium defenders, so now you have to, like, if you are opting for a, let's say, 7.5 million midfielder, now you have to factor in this, like, let's say you then in that price region you have, let's say, an Ilkay Gundogan, you have Wilfried Zaha, and these other players. Now you can offer a Wilfried Zaha or a Gundogan in place of a Trent Alexander-Arnold. However, you have to also consider, like although Trent has scored, say 5 points in this first 3 game weeks, Trent Alexander-Arnold is first for big chances created, the highest number of XG, the goal involvement. However, he has not had the rub of the green and hasn't had the uh, you know uh, attacking outputs to back all these underlying stats. So this is what I'm alluding to, is that and this has already started. People are jumping off the bandwagon. So if we can get the transfer out creative on the screen, you will see that out of the top four defenders that have been sold this game week, three of those defenders are Trent Alexander-Arnold, Yao Cancelo, and Reece James. So
I think
while
Rahul, I think
hmm,
we'll come to the transfer creatives very soon. We'll be talking about those trends. But first of all, like, just to what you were saying, what we wanted our listeners to know right now is the changes you made in your particular team this week. You know, if we can just cover that
yo,
first, and then we can move to
yeah.
the transfer bit.
So, in respect to this discussion, so what I have in my mind right now is that although for this game week, I am going to, keep hold of my both Chelsea fullbacks, but for
Yeah.
the coming game week, when I will have two free transfers, I might drop Reece James for a 4 or 4.5 million midfielder, just because Thomas Tuchel has been, too stubborn in playing him as a right-sided centre back until and
Mm.
unless Chelsea sign a Wesley Fofana or a right-sided centre back, and which allows Reece James to play in that right wing back role. Because let's be honest, he at the moment he's the best right wing back in the league, or let's say in the world. So
Mm.
if you are playing such a devastating player out of position, so, and that was also evident in the Leeds game as well. So like Chelsea created loads of chances in the first half an hour. However, just because they had Ruben Loftus-Cheek down the right flank, like he lost possession. I think, as far as I can remember, in those opening 25 minutes, Ruben Loftus-Cheek had 4 or 5 one-on-one situations in the right flank, and each and every time he lost the ball. So which is unacceptable. And on the back of that, he scored two quick goals on the succession, like Mendy implosion and followed by at that set piece. So yeah, on to, in respect to transfers, that Reece James is one player that I might look to drop just because Thomas Tuchel is too stubborn and to stick with him as the right side center back, which I am still baffled as to why he's doing that.
So that's quite interesting. Both Pranav and Rahul do want to make changes, but they're waiting for the next game week so that they get more transfers, and then they would want to make the changes. But obviously, from the conversation, we can already see there are certain trends which are emerging, and there are some things which our experts believe are changes which are necessary in the FPL. Rahul, Naresh, what are the changes you are going? Are you going to make any changes based on the trends that you've been seeing emerging?
So this change that I've made for the coming game week has got nothing to do with any trend whatsoever.
Hmm.
It's purely because just from the fact that Tariq Lamptey has not been considered a starter by Graham Potter in this Brighton team. They're playing well. I understand it, and yeah, so that's my only change. My only change is Tariq Lamptey. I've taken him out and I've brought in Kyle Walker, simply for the fact that City are going to pile up some clean sheets
Hmm.
in the coming weeks, hopefully. Um, so I'm going to stick. So in terms of trends, I think I brought this up in the first podcast that we had on FPL, or the second one, and I talked about this season being a striker season, and I truly believe that it is developing into one. I truly feel that if you have the money, rather like we've spoken about this, instead of probably spending a few million on your defenders, you'd rather spend it on your strikers who seem to be scoring. You see a lot of strikers scoring across the board. You have goals from Harry Kane, Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, Gabriel Jesus, Erling Haaland. You have a lot of strikers to pick from, and all of them are delivering. So my the trend that I see is that it is a striker heavy season. So you would probably have three of these strikers, three from these five, and play around with them rather than going heavy on the defense, which it's something that I will consider and I will change in the coming weeks.
So there's a slight conflict here between the two Rahuls, as Saha very clearly mentioned that even though smaller teams will get goals plundered in, but they would be returning goals. And Rahul Naresh obviously believes that City might still go for some clean sheets in the next coming week. So interesting observation there from both the Rahuls. And
Shweta,
Ali, yeah,
might I add?
yeah,
I mean, I completely agree with Rahul when he says there are 11 to 12 front-footed teams. There definitely
hmm,
are. You have
hmm,
quite a few teams, but it is often seen that these teams struggle to come back once they concede the first goal. So
hmm,
I want to see more of these teams play. I mean, I want to see them come back from say 1-0 down or 2-0 down to come back and
hmm.
beat teams 2 all, or 3-2, for example. I mean, we saw it from Newcastle this week, but I want to see it on a more regular basis, and then I'll definitely buy that portion of the argument.
Interesting.
So like
So Ali,
Rahul, shut up. Just one thing, just to and just to counter his argument. Let's say like I will just to add as you were like talking about strikers. Let's say we discuss as the defenders are priced at let's say 7 million or 7.5. So let's take for example an Ollie at Watkins. Just I think you or Shwetaabh has in his team, right? And compare him with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, if you look at both these players, the point scoring potential of an Ollie Watkins over the season is let's say a 140 or a 150 points, right? Or let's say if he has a wonderful season, he will at stretch it to a 170 or a 180 because he doesn't get a clean sheet point. He gets less points for a goal as well. Whereas an attacking fullback, let's say Reece James or Trent Alexander-Arnold, will give you the same amount of outputs as a Ollie Watkins. If Ollie Watkins gives you 15 goals or assists in a season, the Trent Alexander will also give you the same goals and assists, but he will get you more points for the goals and assists, where he's proven over the last 3 to 4 seasons. Whereas, let's say Liverpool doesn't get even 20 clean sheets. Let's say they get 10 clean sheets. So you're also getting at 40 points more for those 10 clean sheets. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say here is that you don't go point chasing based on just form. And if you are
Right.
looking for an asset for the long term, at the end of the day you have to look at the return on interest. Like for per million, how many points you are getting from that asset.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I think
That's what I was
and I
I
alluding to.
think
agree.
I no no
I
and
agree.
I think that's a very interesting point which Saha just mentioned, because when he puts it like this, and Oli Watkins, even after having an incredible season, scoring say 10 to 12 goals, he might just get to equal points to Alexander Arnold or a Reece James,
Yeah,
who's giving you more clean sheets, more assists, but isn't that what happens in football generally? Like goals are the most attractive currency of football. So even though, but I think that's a very interesting argument, and that's a very interesting way of looking at the FPL aspect of things, because obviously this just goes on to prove to us that FPL is actually how we see FPL, and how we see the real matches, the real football which is going on has to be completely different. This is something we spoke in our previous podcast also. But let's go to Ali. Ali, what are the changes that you're making? Any United player making a comeback in your team now after this
No, no,
stirring
no,
performance?
not as of now. I'm going with the same team. I'm not making any changes. So my thought is I'll wait for the transfer window to end, because in the next week there are many things that can change. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I, I can't see enough of a trend to rest our opinion on right now. So I'm waiting for the transfer window to end. So if Chelsea signed, as Rahul said, the right-sided center back, then James is the one to go. So I'm right now keeping the same team, and maybe
hmm,
even for the next week also. And I'll see when the transfer window completes. And Sancho is the one I would have first in the team, but we are linked with Anthony, who might come. So we'll have to see what happens. So there are
yeah,
in
yeah,
many of the teams, and again, Alexander Arnold has not given points right now, but he has proven what he's capable of in the last 4 seasons. So I still think he can give points once Liverpool have their issues sorted, or they sign some players and all. So they will improve. They may improve. So I'm going with them right now.
yeah. And I also personally, I mean, this point has been coming up again and again. So I just want to say, I don't think Alexander Arnold personally, I don't feel he had that bad a game. I think his performance was quite well, and on some other day he might have grabbed some assist or something. But Ali, one thing which I want to know from you is that obviously you haven't made any change for this week, but you are our expert who played a wild card last week, and it has worked wonderfully well for you. I mean, you've scored much higher points from your last time. So, what was the
Shweta,
thought
I
process
also
that?
played my
Yeah,
world card.
Yeah,
yeah, but it
Rahul
didn't
did.
work. Yeah, but it didn't work out for you.
Yeah,
No,
I scored 62
He
points.
scored
Like
just six
that's not a
six
bad
lesser than
point.
me.
I know. I was
Yeah.
just joking. I was just joking. So I was just coming to that only for both our experts, but I was coming to you, Rahul, also. That so obviously we saw two different things happening. Like both two of our experts played wild card. For one, it worked really well. For one, it did not work that well. But so that's why I want to know from Ali, what do you think worked for you from your wild card? And if you just have to give a suggestion to our listeners when making wildcard changes, what are the kind of things that they should be going for?
What worked for me was not including three Manchester United players, to be honest. So I removed all of them.
No, but did it
And
really work for you? Maybe Sancho could have given you
yes,
points. You
no, no,
had
no,
Sancho in your
actually.
team.
So Zaha gave me 13 points, and I replaced Zaha for
Yeah,
Sancho.
yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, so now I got Kane back. He gave almost equal points to Haaland. Haaland was there previously. When
Hmm.
Tony gave me points, and I didn't had a third first team striker whom I could play. I think I had Bowen in the team, so I changed him. West Ham, even apart from the players they've got, they are really struggling to score a single goal in any
Hmm.
game. So right now they are pretty messed up. So I'm not I removed Bowen just for that. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it. Well, wild card, and again I removed David De Gea and got Sanchez, who gave me the clean sheet. The
Okay.
same Manchester United problem.
So, yeah, but let's see. Let's hope for better times in terms of clean sheet. Also, actually, I have also made a couple of changes this week. I have played my wild card, even though I have made only two changes. I have played my wild card this week, and despite praising Alexander Arnold, I have taken him out for my team because I wanted to have Perisic. I have seen his performance
Hmm.
I'm sorry, guys. Again, I lost you for a bit there. But yeah, so I was saying that Perisic is someone I wanted to have in my team because that's a player I admire. I just because he's a new transfer, and generally I wait before I take new transfers in my FPL team. But seeing his performance, I've replaced Alexander Arnold with Perisic, and obviously, like Saha keeps talking about the money left in the bank always. I got a lot. Perisic I got for a lot cheaper. That has allowed me to get Rodrigo in my team, and Rodrigo has been simply sensational. So I've got Rodrigo back in my team, and
Yeah,
on and oh, yeah,
I'd like to
yes,
mention one thing I forgot. So
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
Rahul Naresh mentioned this season is going to be a season of strikers. Rodrigo, though he's available in the midfield option, but he's playing as a striker, and the kind of performances and determination he's showing getting into the good zones to score goals in all those three previous matches. Getting him for 6.1 would be good, and that too getting a striker in the midfield. So that's a viable
Ali,
option for now.
he's 6.3 already.
He got 6.3. Okay, I didn't check him. Although
Well,
I'll
Rodrigo,
there
right?
have been
Yeah.
two price rises in the last 24 hours.
wow.
So
Actually, he
let's
deserved that actually. So I'll have him at some point of time.
hmm.
I see him scoring 15 goals at least this season. Leeds are playing very well. They have yesterday in the I think yeah yesterday in the Carabao Cup, Luis Sinistera played from the start, and he looked a good deal. So the
Sinister
Premier
is a
League season,
great player.
yeah.
Like I wanted
So
him for Arsenal too.
so yeah, I watched him in
At
Eredivisie.
least at least you'll get him. At least you'll get him in one of your teams, if not Arsenal. But yeah, so finally, my final change has been Trippier. I've got Trippier also in because Trippier has also been performing well. I wanted him in
Yeah.
my team, and also only for this week. Like I know Pranav said that Ward-Prowse is already there in his team, and he expects him to do well. But he's playing against my team. I don't want
Yeah.
to like. That is something I do in FPL also. Like I face. I mean, I faced losses also because of this, but I've got Ward-Prowse in the substitutes, and I'm playing with Rodrigo, Lallana, De Bruyne, and Bowen in the midfield. I'll get Ward-Prowse
Shweta,
back in for the next
don't
week.
make
Yeah.
this mistake. Don't
Hey,
make
I
this
do the
Well,
mistake
same
again.
thing. I do the
Never,
same thing.
never
yeah,
go sentimental on your FPL team. Never ever do
I
this.
know, but it's just that it just becomes conflicting when you're watching the match. Then because then somewhere you
So
want
true.
Ward-Prowse to do well or score, so it's difficult for me. Maybe I'll get over it, but for this week at least, I'm not going to go through with this. I have Ward-Prowse off my team, and obviously, I'm also hoping that he doesn't do well. That is why he's off my team. But okay, let's now.
At least keep him as your first sub. At least gives you a chance if someone else
Yeah.
that does
maybe
not
what I can
play.
maybe I'll do that, and maybe what I can also do is probably play bench boost this week, but I'm saving that for when we play Tottenham, because then Kane and Perisic go out of my team for that game, so that week I might just play bench boost. But yeah, Rahul came up with a very interesting Rahul Saha came up with a very interesting stat for this week, which is the kind. And obviously now that we are in game week 3, we are more we have more information about the kind of changes that have been happening and the trends which are happening. So Rahul Saha has made this list of the transfers in and transfers out for this week. How many players have been transferred? If you can just come up with those creatives, and Saha, if you can take it forward, and then I would like to know Pranav's views on it. Pranav, Naresh, Ali, what all you think of it?
So
Saha, if you
yeah,
can
as you
quickly
can
take us
see,
through it, yeah.
like Rodrigo has been the most transferred in players. Like also like this was taken at 5 p.m. So like I expect by now at least a million people have transferred him in. Apart from that, as you can see, Perisic, Trippier, Tony, Saliba, De Bruyne. These are all the usual suspects. So nothing too surprising here. In the transferred in players, however, if you quickly go to the transfer out players, that is where the most exciting part is because of what I was discussing earlier.
Rahul, I have a question.
Yeah.
How effective do you think Pascal Gross is as a cheap buy for your
I
FPL
think
team?
he's very effective. He is in my team. Like last game week, he was my first sub. He scored 6 points, so I couldn't get there. But however, for this game week, he will be there in my team. So I am I if depending on the Chelsea team news, if Reece James again plays at that right centre back role, I will drop him as my first sub and bring in Gross as my third midfielder. But if he plays as the wing back, then I might again go with same team as the game week 3. So and yeah,
Uh,
as I was talking to you guys, yeah, about the transfer out players. So as you can see, Koulibaly is the most transferred out player because he got his red card. So
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
you can expect that. But as
Expected,
you can
yeah.
see, that Trent Alexander-Arnold is the second most transferred out players. Then there's Saka. Like he hasn't had a great window, but a great start. But Arsenal are playing Fulham next, followed by Villa and United. Like all three of them are not good defensively. So just like Odegaard had a brace last game, Saka can easily score a brace or add 2 assists in the next game against Fulham. So that is a knee-jerk decision in my opinion, because if you have such type of players like Trent, Saka, then Reece James, Cancelo, you have to stick with them because the upside to these players is huge. If you are suffering in the long run and you do knee-jerk decisions, at the time it may pay off, but in the long run, when you have to get these assets back, they will be priced out for you, and it will really hamper your team because you see Trent, Cancelo, and James. These are the most, as I was saying, these are the most transfer out defenders, and these three defenders among themselves can easily score 30 points in this coming game week. So if you are transferring out these three players in a goal, let's say, and they score 30 points in this coming game week, like, because City have Palace at home, Chelsea are facing Leicester City. Although Leicester have that threat of scoring a goal with Madison, as we know, but however they are culpable to conceding a whole lot of big chances and being open in the back. At the same goes with Trent Alexander-Arnold because they are facing a Bournemouth at home. Although they had the tricky first 3 games, but still you would expect them to get a result against Bournemouth. Even if they don't get a clean sheet, he should get an attacking result at least in my opinion. So yeah, so these are the main knee-jerk decisions. So if any of you guys have this 4 or 5 players in your team, in my opinion, you should stick with them at least
Yeah.
till game week 6 or game week 8, because you will get your uh, result, but you just have to be patient with them because they
So,
have the track record behind them.
thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much for this keen observation. Pranav, what is your view on it?
Well, I was very surprised to see Salah at the bottom of the list of the transfer outs. Uh,
Hmm.
don't know how that came up, but I agree. I completely agree with what Rahul was talking about. That these players might just surprisingly give you more points, and I also agree with Rahul on Saka's point of view. I feel he's a gifted player. It's just that he did not have much of a contribution in the last game, but the previous week also he scored. And playing at home against Fulham, I feel he has a great chance, if not scoring, but at least giving more than an assist. So, like Rahul mentioned, I'm definitely going to stick with Saka over there. And again, surprised to see Salah in the bottom of that list. Uh, my strategy personally, what I was thinking about with all the players that I have got to play around with, I feel it is okay to have most of the players who are playing at their home ground to be in your playing 11. That just gives you an edge over a team that is touring or visiting you. So that's about it actually.
Interesting. Actually, funnily enough, Rahul, I was just going through your list again, and I've seen that your top three players who've been transferred in are also my players who I've transferred in for this week. And Ali, any observations on this list quickly?
No, I think people are getting too hasty with Trent Alexander-Arnold right now. I would give him some more time. Just it has been just 3 games,
Yeah,
so
probably you
I,
guys
I
are
will
right.
definitely I will definitely give him at least 2 or 3 more games and see what turns out. And Salah
Maybe I
was,
think. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, carry on.
No, no, I was just saying that maybe Alexander Arnold is a topic which we are going to cover in our next podcast, which is on the FPL preview and review of the week. Uh, uh, that is somewhere we'll keenly talk about just not Alexander Arnold, but Liverpool's form in general. Is
Right.
this something to be scared about for the Liverpool fans? These are things which we need to which we'll discuss in our next podcast, which I request my listeners to tune in for, because that is where our experts are going to give their predictions for the week and just review the week overall. And some things from there are also taken into account as to what kind of changes the FPL might see this week. Very soon we are going to have podcasts on the transfer season which has gone by right now, because it's coming to a close. It's exciting times, and let's see what the kind of movements are, because it is going to influence our FPL decisions. Guys, thank you so much, Saha, Naresh, Pranav, Ali. Finally,
Shweta,
welcome back, brother.
just to add
Yeah,
one thing. Yeah,
yeah.
that are you guys ready for the actual action now? We have 3 game weeks in 9 days, so brace yourself, guys.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The
Again, Saha,
midweek action begins.
this is something we will be covering in our podcast in our next episode, when we talk about the previews, and of course exciting times ahead. 3 game weeks in 9 days, like Saha just mentioned. So I'm looking forward to sitting with you guys talking about this. Pranav, hope we have you again with us. Naresh, Ali, Rahul,
Sure.
you guys are there, going to be there for sure. Ali, it's good to have you back, brother, especially after the week we had. A lot of people, a lot of our listeners thought that you've gone into depression, you've run away, you don't want to do this anymore. But that's not the case. Our brother is back, and
No,
hopefully,
I was
I
depressed,
know,
but I was busy. That's why I couldn't join in the last
I know,
podcast.
I know, I know, I know. But thank you so much, guys, for listening in. Please look out for the next episode of Blood, Sweat, and Beers. We will be coming up with interesting things, interesting segments, and hope to give you more insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks.